Nearly half of all U.S. voters support pro-crypto policies, according to software company Consensus and polling from HarrisX. The poll found that 49% of voters are in favor of crypto, and of those, 13% are actually open to crossing party lines for favorable crypto policies on the other side. And an overwhelming majority, 92% of crypto owners, do plan to vote in November.
Former President Trump took note of this, it seems. In July, he attended the biggest crypto conference in the US, Bitcoin 2024, where he told the crowd he would make America, the world leader of Bitcoin and other digital currency. Kamala Harris has yet to take an official position on this, but it might do her some good if she did. A new Morning Consult poll shows the candidates are tied, each polling at 47% each among crypto voters. What's more, the survey found that of the 52 million crypto owners in the US, 6.5 million are concentrated in the 7 key swing states. Those, of course, are Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
Welcome back to Cryptos Are Us. I'm George. We're all George. So, I am off-site today. I'm going to explain why. But first of all, let's talk about Bitcoin. What the hell happened? Look at where we are right now. 60,500. Kind of sucks that Bitcoin took another dump today. Why are we going down further? What is going on? Let me try to explain what happened today and what to look forward to. Is Uptober canceled? Well, first of all, this is kind of frustrating. I've expressed this already. Today, the broader market was great. Dow was up 431 points. NASDAQ was up 100, right? And NVIDIA and tech, they didn't do so well today, but overall today was a green day. And that makes today more frustrating. Why didn't Bitcoin follow? Why didn't crypto go up? Well, there are several reasons why. First off, we did have the Fed minutes, and this does show that officials were kind of divided about the 50 basis point cut that we had. A lot of people thought it should have been less. So this does make it seem like the liquidity injection that a lot of people are anticipating, well, it does seem like it may not be as much as anticipated, right? And we know the next one, which is coming out next month, is probably going to be 25 basis points. So it's not as much as we thought for this year. We know it will continue, but it's not as much as we thought, right? So, that kind of dampened the mood a little bit. And because of it, right?
Cool level on the price chart. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video. So definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, and right now the super trend indicator on the 4-day Bitcoin chart is still currently sitting in the red, so nothing's changed over the last 1 day on this chart. And taking a look at the 2-day Bitcoin chart, the same can be said about this chart as well. Over the last 1 day, nothing has really changed. And so despite what's happening on smaller time frames in the shorter term, which once again, the short term can flip between bullish and bearish pretty much every few days, despite what's happening in the short term, the longer term trend or the larger trend on these larger time frames, at least as of right now, has not yet reversed out of this bearish trend, because in order to expect that and more of a bullish reversal, a bull run that could last for many months, we need to first see a breakout above at least this line of resistance, which is currently sitting at around 66,000, and ideally we need a breakout above around 67 to 68,000 to be really confident that we're heading back in the bullish direction on the larger time frames in more of a bull run. And so in case you're new to all of this, it's important to understand the difference between the different time frames. Just because, say, one short-term time frame is flashing a bit of a bullish signal right now, that does not mean all time frames are bullish. That could just mean a slight pump in the short term during a larger bearish trend, as we've seen time and time again over the last half a year or so. And so not much has changed on these larger time frames. So getting straight into the daily Bitcoin chart, and over the last 1 day, we've seen a slight move to the upside again in the DXY after the previous massive spike to the upside in the DXY that we saw earlier this week and especially last week. And so as I've said, even before we saw that move in the DXY and before we...
Here to dive into how crypto stands to impact the presidential election is Dritan Nesho, founder and CEO of HarrisX. You're very welcome. So let's get right into this. How do you think voters who own cryptocurrency differ from the general electorate? What specifically speaks to them?
Great question. They're not single issue voters, but these are voters that are very concerned about the economy. Ultimately, many crypto owners, which make up 25% of the electorate, according to our polling, they care about inflation, they care about economic issues through and through, and their investment in crypto is seen pretty much as a hedge against what they see negative trends on inflation and the economy. So these are key voters, and given how tight this election is, the fact that there's more crypto owners in all battleground states than the last election's difference or the margin of difference from 2020, that's a very important fact and something that each campaign needs to take note. This could be a voter bloc that could end up tipping the election one way or another, depending on whether the candidates speak to them.
Crypto is in the category of financial regulation. There's some interest in regulating it from certain members of Congress, along typical party lines. Republicans, the GOP, are usually the party that wants to do less regulation on this front. Democrats want to do more, although there are some Democrats who are supportive of crypto, who own crypto themselves, who have met with people in that industry, in that sector. So it's a little bit more complicated than a Republicans versus Democrats thing, but as we alluded to, Kamala Harris really hasn't said much about it, which way she comes down in terms of the split in her own party. Can you speak to that reality a bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's the important point, right? That these voters actually tend to skew a little bit more democratic, a little bit younger, a little bit more multicultural.
Options coming up too. So that means there will be more money flowing in from the institutions and Wall Street guys, right? But it's not just the big guys. Retail, millennials, okay, the Gen Zs, the Gen X, whatever else, other generations. The new guys, the new generations, they're not thinking about anything else other than crypto, right? So we have newer and newer generations getting involved, getting exposure. That is exciting, right? So we are still very, very, very early. Very early indeed. So is October canceled? No, it's still very, very early. This choppiness that we have seen, guess what? We have seen this before, okay? This choppiness actually happened, guess what? Last year in October. We saw the same kind of choppiness happen the first week of October in 2023, right before the huge move upwards. We're seeing the same thing now. Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this is just a precursor to shake out the weak hands before a big move comes, right? It can certainly happen. Remember what happened last year? We had a big shakeout and then boom, we went straight up and never stopped, right? So is October over? No, certainly not. And in terms of where we are in this cycle after the halving event, we're about 11% over. And look at all the previous cycles, besides the very first one. The second one, third one, Bitcoin barely moved after the 11%, right? But we're right at the cusp of that big, giant movement. So there are still so many things to expect, so many days left in this cycle. So this is definitely not time to be bearish, not time to be distracted. This is still the time to be bullish, okay?